Go.
Why didn't the changes on defense produce the results you expected this year?
We didn't play well enough. We just didn't do it well enough. There's too many things that we didn't get sharp at. We went kind of in waves. Where we caught back up and then we kind of dipped back down and then we caught back up again. So the consistency wasn't there, and I totally have to own that. This is me not getting it right fast enough, and we could fix some problems. We're good at doing that, but then we weren't complete in getting the issues solved, and we weren't as clean as we need to be at the line of scrimmage. We didn't fit as well as we need to. We made too many small errors that wound up being huge things. The Niner game was a great example. The big run, and we just messed it up and didn't fit it right, and there was too many of those. And so the inconsistencies that's the part that I have to really be effective at helping. We got to clean things up. We got to get sharper. We got to get back to where we can effectively play the running game.
How much of those inconsistencies do you attribute to youth?
I'm taking it.
What's the biggest issue you can fix, probably the quickest or most direct?
We're going to grow. We're going to be more consistent with doing things right. We had a lot of just kind of the inconsistency errors that come from, unfortunately not understanding well enough how to be on it play after play after play. The league is so good that if you make an error, you make mistakes, they capitalize. And we made more than we could handle this year. It came out not being effective and consistent on line of scrimmage. And that's the whole front group, but the secondary also, they're part of that too now. I'm not sticking it on anybody other than we just need more time together. And we need to get the scheme sharp, and we need to get our players, the maturity that will help them make really good decisions consistently, and we can do way better.
Where is Jamal Adams in his rehab, and how much can he help you with some of that next year?
Yeah, Jamal was with us here this weekend, and he's finally starting to move. He's up on his feet and he's going. He's on the treadmills and those things getting started. So it's still a long recovery for him, and we'll go into the summer with him still getting back. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But that's not one that he's going to bounce back and be ready next month or something like that. It's going to take him a while.
What about Jordan Brooks?
He hasn't been operated on yet. They've waited. I think it's, what was the date today? I think he's going in the 19th. What is the date today? 16th. Yeah, 19th. So we won't know anything until then.
You talked about the number of young guys in the youth of this team. What should they be most proud of this year?
Well, they survived. They survived the season, Very, very fortunate for our guys to have this much exposure this early in their career. There's so much to be gained. And in the midst of the first season of young guys playing, it's just a monster of issues and concerns, and what'll happen is that all the noise will quiet for them, and their vision will expand, and things will slow down, and all of those normal things that happen are such a value gain, for us as a group. And it's not going to happen just one guy. We got a number of guys on our team. There's 4 or 5 guys on defense. There's 3 or 4 guys on offense that are all going to come back, and they're going to be vets, as they turn the corner. It doesn't mean that they'll have their game all together, but it'll be so much farther ahead. It's hard to describe to you guys how much clearer things will look and how they'll feel like, how did I not know this, and survive a season. So hopefully we can really navigate each individual player to gain the most he can possibly gain from this good experience that they've had. It's so valuable that they got all this play time.
For the tackles in particular, that position's so hard to do, and to play a whole season for both of them.
It's hard. It's hard to imagine because it hasn't happened. That this has occurred, but both guys come out of it healthy, feeling good. They can have great off seasons to bank on the experience that they have, and hopefully they won't all grow the same. They won't all take the same out of this experience, but we're going to try to maximize that as much as possible, to help them really be a whole jump ahead of where they were. So.
Back to Jamal, how much of what you wanted to do defensively did you have to change when he went down?
Well, again, really, the last 2 years it did affect us, because we had a real plan how we wanted to utilize him, and so, he's a terrific ball player, and he would be a big factor, and that's the design of the scheme was all set up with that in mind. So But I'm not blaming anything on that. That's just we'll take advantage of him when we have him again, and he'll make the most of it.
With Jordan in the linebacking core, Cody's a free agent, something like that too. How does that, I guess, Jordan's health impact what you guys got to do with the linebacking core this offseason? Do you feel like he'll be ready to go?
No, we're going to count him to be ready to go. But I'm saying that with in all optimism because I haven't gone in and taken a look at what it looks like right yet. So, but he should. It's a long recovery. It's late in the year. It's a hard race against time for him to make it. But he's such a well-conditioned guy, and he's such a good worker, and his mentality is so strong and all that. I think he'll get as much out of it as you can. He's a really big factor, and he needed the time as we changed principles and stuff that he did. He needed the time to really grow with it. He was making a bunch of tackles, but he'll be better. He'll be much improved also. He'll grow somewhat like the first year guys in schematically, and so hopefully we'll get him back, and we'll fitting it together. We've got some issues, and we've got business issues this time of year, as you guys know, and we've got to get things settled, get guys back on the roster, and who comes back to us and who doesn't. We'll have to figure that out. Who do we attract from outside in, all that stuff. But Jordan's really, he's the centerpiece, and he's such a good player that we'll continue to lean on him that way. So fingers crossed, and we'll hope for the best, and that he'll make it back and be ready to go for the season.
You talked about the growth of your rookies. What about the growth of your quarterback and Gino and what he meant to this team?
Yeah, again, we've said kind of the same thing so many times because it's been so obvious to talk about him, but it's a great story of what he did and what he accomplished. He played terrific football. How about coming out against the Niners on the road, and he's 9 for 10 in the first half. He's on his stuff, and he had an excellent game for us in that game, and even though the turnovers happened, he played really well. Just to show you again that he's on it, and we got our guy, and we need to hopefully work things out so he's with us and all that. There's business to be done there, of course, but there's no really there's no lid on what we can do. There's the sky's the limit, and that along with returning him with his leadership factor that he had, he's a big deal to us, and so just couldn't be more tickled by the way the whole thing turned out, and how he handled it, and really as we look to the future, he's a big part of why we're looking to the future so promisingly.
You talked about the gap with the 49ers on your radio show. How bridgeable is that, and how do you go about doing that? Is it
Well, it took them a while to get that front seven in order, the 3 linebackers that play all the time, they've been playing for years, and they play like it, you can tell. Bosa and Armstead, those guys are the real deal, and they've got other guys that are in their rotations as well. But if you think about it, picture the really hot defenses around the league. There's players on that front that make a difference, and they distract you from everything else that's going on. Just the Aaron Donald effect is so obvious. At the Rams, he made everybody better because he was so hard to deal with. Well, Bosa is one of those kinds of guys, and Armstead's another one. So it took some time to get those guys, to get them going. And so, but that's in some shape or form. You've got to have guys that are factor that affect the opponent in big ways if you're going to really be able to draw on it. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's a way to get it done. In years past when we were really on it defensively, we had 7 or 8 guys that you had to deal with and some problem guys up front, but we did it a little differently back then. But you got to have issues that you cause for the opponent, and so we got to get better. The young guys will improve and cause problems. Chenna had a great season for us, and was a factor in every game of causing problems. Those are the kinds of players. Jordan was like that as well. You could see Tariq had the factor. When Diggsy really got back to going, really got flying around out there, he had his effect on the back end. We hope Jamal would be a part of that, And one of the guys that had a really great year for us that maybe hasn't shown up yet was Ryan Neal. Ryan Neal had a really effective year when he was playing. He was out there, made a lot of stuff happen. His numbers were really good. He was a productive player. We need guys to be issues for the opponent, and so schematically we help them, but physically they got to do their thing too. So, and so we're competing to get better.
What does the recovery timeline look like for Will Disley?
For which one?
Will Disley. What is his timeline?
Michael, this is one we don't know. He's what they're doing right now is they're waiting to see how he heals in regards to surgery. Does he need surgery or not? We don't know that yet. And so I think they said it was going to be a couple months, 2 or 3 months of rehab to see if it just heals up so they don't have to go in and do something. And we've never had the injury before. I can't tell you what it is, but it's it's an unusual place and an unusual return because we don't have the background on it. So we'll just wait and see. He's doing well. He's making progress and all that. And he's feeling more comfortable. He's not not on the crutches and stuff and all that as much or whatever. He's really returning, but we're not going to know for a while.
Different years, circumstances, and schemes for you on defense, but you've had some struggles on that side of the ball the last couple of years in different ways. How frustrating is that for you that you guys haven't been able to piece it together to find that?
Yeah, it's killing me, and it really we're going to have to become more dynamic up front. We have to. We've kind of been in the same mode. We've got to get more production out of the guys. They've got to be more factors, and so we need to make that position really competitive if we can. And we'll see what we can do.
How much did the growth across the board really set the foundation for next year and beyond for the future of this program?
It's exactly what it happened. And coming out of this building yesterday with all these guys and the meetings that we had, and all of the opportunities to connect with guys, this is a new place for us. Really, this is a different feeling. And after losing the last game, which is always the curse in the league, it has its way of kind of manifesting, and we've been through all of that, and our guys just feel like we're getting started. This is what it feels like, and they're excited about it, they're encouraged about it. The coaches feel like that, personnel feels like that, fueled by the big transition we made last year and all of the elements that come along with that. It's factored in, and we can feel it. And going into the draft, we can feel it. There's a momentum about it, and hopefully we'll be able to cash in. I think also last year's draft being so effective for us, and the hopes are really high that we can, tag on to that one and keep building. We're 9-8 and losing the last game here in the playoffs. Being in the last game in halftime, we were ready to go win the game, and we just couldn't quite get it together in the fourth quarter. But it's 23-17 at the end of 3, and we had all of the thoughts and focus that was going to turn our way, and we didn't get that done, But that's not enough to knock us off the mentality of it all. So
did looking at the film give any different view of the illegal downfield penalty?
Oh God, it was so close. It's just a brush of a foot difference. Whether it's in the timing of the ball coming out, it was really, it was a call that was. I'm not going to say it was a wrong call, but you had to push to call it, and in that time when the game's going, there's like nothing being called. There was no penalties being called in that game. We hadn't played like that. They hadn't played like that, and then bam, that one, that call, we should have overcome it. It was just a 5-yard penalty, but we didn't, and we were going to be on the 6 or something, wherever we were going to be, and we're on back here, and then we wind up, the next play winds up being the turnover, and that was an enormous play. That sequence right there was an enormous factor that you can't give them. We were doing it. We were holding on to the ball. We were taking care of everything. We weren't giving them anything, and we were fighting our ass off to be in that thing. And that was enough of an opening for them that they were able to take advantage of it. They went down and scored, and we followed up and weren't able to respond the way we needed to. So it was a big factor.
Is that a kind of call that there must have been chirping going on during the game to plant a seed, that there's out of nowhere like that?
I don't think so, because there was no place like that. It was a really unusual thing that happened.
That's how the tackle drops off.
Yeah, so that as we're past, we're blocking and we got a little scheme going on, he kind of followed through with the guy, and as we talked about, this was a rule that was emphasized during the season. This was one of these ones that came up, and they said, let's make sure that we're going to start calling more strictly, and they did. Heck, we got 3 of them in the game, and the other ones we were off. But the intent of it, that's a rule that's designed for the RPO plays where you have run pass options, and this was a different situation. So anyway, that's how it happened, and I don't mind talking about it, but I'm going to bellyache about it, so it's over.
Going back to the defense a little bit, specifically with the run defense, it's really good in 2021, not so good in 2022. How does that happen, even though you guys had a lot of the same players come back?
Yeah, well, because we did change some stuff, and you know, we need to find the blend of what's best for us.
You mentioned about being more, when you talk about being more dynamic up front, on the defense, are you talking more of your interior?
Yeah, we're
guys?
the passer better. We got to be more of a factor when they're doubling us. We got to split double teams. We got all those things, and our guys busted their tails to do it. We need to make sure that we're more of a factor. It's not factoring in enough for us to be really effective like we want to be, and so we have to find ways to do that. So that will come. One of the adjustments that we made during the early part of the season when we were struggling a little bit really helped us, and we got our guys a little more active, and you saw us take about a 4 or 5 week turn right in there, you know, and so we have to recapture that, you know. So our guys can do it, but we need to make it more competitive as well. We need to continue to upgrade.
You mentioned Quandre earlier. Just what did he show you this year from, you know, a year ago he's recovering from surgery this time of year?
Yeah, that's a remarkable turnaround for him to get back. He had a bad injury, and right at the end of the season, and you know, just to get back out there, you know, and to be playing, you know, is one thing, but to have the confidence that you can hit it and plant and drive and do all the things you need to do, that's a whole nother thing. And it took him a while, I think, to really, you know, gain the confidence and the, you know, just the return. You know, he was in a return mode for some time during the season. I don't even know that he would have sensed that, but yeah, I think that's the reality of it. And once he got really going, he cranked it up and he was all over the place and played really good.
What are you most proud of this season?
I'm most proud of where they are coming out of this season. That where we because it's a culmination of everything that we went through, the challenges, the setbacks, you know, when the elevations of our play. That we came out of it with the mentality that we're moving forward and we're going, and you know, I couldn't ask for anything more in that regard. That's why, you know, having a winning record, being in the playoffs, was a plus for us, you know, and it was a struggle, you know, to get there, and that we could have so easily have been positioned better by just what we had done earlier in the year. But the fact that it did happen and the guys finished and put us in position to do that, and we're all the way to the fourth quarter of the opening game of the playoffs for us, and we're ready to go win a game, and so that's how close it was. And it seems like it's a million miles, you know, from, you know, what we could be doing this week, but. I mean, it was in this room right here, all the meetings that we had and all the time we spent, you know, on the Saturday nights getting ready, and what these guys did in the locker room and on the practice field to build that trust in one another and the belief that things are going to happen for the good. Looking forward to the future. That's what I take out of this season.
I don't know if you saw Ryan Neal's comments yesterday, but he talked about just how eager and hungry guys are to get back to work. He said he came in and saw Gino in the weight room yesterday. Just, are you getting that sense from players that they just are?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I didn't see that, but I think our fans can feel it too. You know, I think it's that obvious, and I think the community around us that supports us, and the building here and all there, it supports us. You know, everybody senses it. So. Okay, that's great. We got to do something with it. That mean nothing unless we do something with it. So, but it gives us the best shot to take this next step together.
Locke ended up not playing at all this year, but what kind of sense did you get from him, I guess, of what, you know, how he felt about that, and you guys see him?
Yeah, Drew was as positive as you could hope a guy to be that didn't get a chance to play. I mean, he had a really good experience. He worked great with the coaches. We really appreciated, you know, his talent and his work ethic. And even more so, his mentality and support of Gino. He and Gino were buddies through the whole thing, and they helped each other. Sean Mannion was part of that as well, but he doesn't know what's coming up. You got to wait and see, you know. But we'd love to have him back and keep growing with him.
You said the other day that you have a really good system, like as it relates to quarterback play. What do you like about your system in that regard?
Well, that you saw it. You know, you saw a guy throw for more yards than anybody's ever thrown in a franchise. You saw a guy complete more passes than in the history of the franchise. You know, almost 70% of his passes for the year. 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard receiver. You know, that's and to be also matched up with a rookie running back that runs for 1,000. All of that fits together, and so I think the system is intact and ready to go. And we need to keep adding to it. But we have a lot of continuity coming back. You know, we know what we have coming back, and so I think Gino's play in particular shows you that the system is in order, and need to get better. You know, we need to improve. And Gino will be the first to tell you. You know, he's got to do more things right, and that's the life of a quarterback. You know, it's such an intricate position. There's so much that goes to it. Every step he takes, every turn, all of his footwork, all of those things can be improved on. But we know exactly what we're trying to get done, and it's really the communication level is really at a height, and. So it's all of that, you know. So tight ends were really a big part of it too. You know, they had a great season for us, and they're coming back. We get that group again. You know, it's exciting, and so there's all the elements are there to show that the structure is in order. You know, we can run the ball when we do it right and we really get after it. We need to be more consistent at that, but the system is there. So, you know, I think it's all those reasons.
On defense, what about the system tells you you've got the right system? What about the season?
Yeah, because I love what these coaches have done and getting together. It's just been more of a process than I wanted, and we transitioned in a way that's not as good as we needed to. But it wasn't because we weren't on it. It wasn't because we weren't coaching it. It wasn't because the guys weren't trying. We need to get better at everything, and we need the time. You know, we need a better offseason. Our guys are really committed to getting back here and doing their thing and taking advantage of it because they can sense why we need to, and we need to be smarter and sharper and more in tuned and more precise about what we're doing. And so that's all there to be had.
Was that a combination of the new system, new scheme with new players? So many new players.
It's everything. It's everything. We're going to do everything. We're going to compete in every single faction of the system, and we're going to. It's not 3-4 versus 4-3. That's not it, because that never has been the issue. It's hard to explain to you, but that's not the issue. It's just a matter of the intricacies have changed. We went to more coverage stuff this year. We really expanded what we're doing coverage-wise, and it helped us. And it allowed us to have a good pass rush this year over the course of the season because we covered guys really well, and those guys kept bringing it, and the combination of that worked well. We just didn't tie it together with the running game like we need to, and so that's where the focus will go.
It'll be a simplistic way to ask it, but when you have such problems in run defense, and you have two outside linebackers as your defensive ends that are rush guys, up the field guys, was some of the issue that there were just too few run stoppers on your defensive line, too few true defensive linemen? If that's a simple way to ask it, but
yeah,
there were times you had two defensive linemen.
We will commit a little bit differently than we did. We're going to be committed a little bit differently than we did this year to make sure that we solidify that. That's about as far as I go.
How's Rashad Penny?
He's making really good progress. He was hoping if we went deep into the playoffs that he would have a chance. That's how positive he was about it. So, but it was, it's the ankle repair that he had is intricate, and it's the high ankle thing where they're tying your stuff together, and they get some really cool technology that makes him stable and ready to come back. He feels pretty good about it. So. He'll make it back. He'll be back for camp and all that. And, if we can get him back up, and so he should have a good, solid recovery.
What did you think of the job Clint did his first year as DC?
I thought he managed it really well. I thought he kept us connected, kept the guys fighting for one another in great fashion. He worked really well with Sean and with Carroll and John. With the guys that have been here. To keep everybody on track and pushing it, we just needed to make more progress, and maybe we might have shot a little too high, for what we were trying to do, and that's why I take responsibility for that, because I let us go the way we went, and we need to zero in, be better fundamentally up front to move forward, and so that's I'm not telling you any more than that.
Aside from the tackles, how did you feel about the play of the offensive line this year?
I thought it was a good group. Austin Blythe was a real factor for us. He really helped us, gave us the continuity up front. He's really, really smart and a terrific leader and play caller up there, and he really helped us solidify it. We had a rotation of guards. D-Lou did a nice job overall during the course of the season, and I think it fit together well. I think the tight ends played better as the season went on up front, and there's a lot of promise for us to continue to use our stuff. Colby Parkinson had a really good season to add with the O-line, along with Dis and Noah. There's some real positives there of connecting those elements.
You alluded to it earlier, but how exciting is it to have the draft capital that you do this year, plus the top 5?
Yeah, I'm pretty fired up about it, really. I know John is too, and we started our, we've been in those conversations. We were watching where the picks were going to show, throughout, and with hopes that we're going to really do something. And the first 4 picks that's an enormous opportunity for us, and so we'll see what we can make of that. Very positive.
What did you think of Bruce coming back for you and the effort he gave you to jump in mid-season?
I thought he did really well. He didn't look like he was an aged player. He played really solid football, chased the ball well, active, played really good down the stretch, and played really good in the final game here. But more than that, he brought a really positive factor. He connected us with the past somewhat that was good and rich, and it was fun to have him around. I mean, like I always say, I love Bruce, and I love the way he plays and what he brings and his mentality and all of that. And he didn't disappoint us in one bit. It was better than we would have thought he would have been. And with he and Chenna playing out there, we had really good experience on the edges, and they could really make things happen. And matter of fact, going into the game, I told them, both those guys, that you have the freedom to go for it, take your shots, and look for your opportunities, and trust you. If you make mistakes going full speed, I don't care. Just go for it. Because they're so well versed and such good ball players in general, and they're teaching the younger guys, Daryl and Boye, how it can be done and what it can look like and all that. So Bruce was really valuable to us.
What's Ben Burke-Irvin's status?
Yeah, he's a little bit of an experimental mode. The surgeries that he's had and the process that he's going through, he is making progress. He is busting. He's always in the weight room with us. He's always here working with really a tremendous mentality. Nerve issues are this really intricate stuff going on, and so he has had to really have a good attitude about it to stay in the fight, and he's in the fight, and he's planning on getting back out there. So we're going to give him every chance. If he can do it, this is going to be the place he does it, and so we'll see what happens. But he's upbeat, he's positive, he's made improvements in an area that sometimes you don't make any, and so the scientifics of this deal that are part of this challenge, and we'll see how it goes, and with really high hopes.
How about Tyreek Smith? He wasn't able to go for you all year. Kind of where is he at? Are you expecting to have him ready and back for you?
Yes, yeah, he should be able to be fully recovered, ready to go, and all that. So we didn't get anything done this year, but good hopes for the future. He's an active football player. He could be a factor for us.
What did Phil Haynes show you about maybe potentially just having him be a starter without a rotation?
He's got starter caliber to us. We like him. He's physical. Really consistent is a good word for him, because he's there for you, and he's a great kid. It worked out well that we were able to play he and Gabe. It helped Gabe with his knee, and gave Phil a chance to be a comfortable starter. We had 3 guys we could have done. If anybody went down, we could rotate our guys around and get it taken care of. So I got high hopes that Phil can be a real factor for us.
What do you think of Poona Ford's season?
Poona Ford played a ton of football. We probably overplayed him, and would like to have had him rotating more. I really like him playing on the center, playing nose. It's kind of his home base. We played a lot of 3 technique and some 5 technique stuff for us, which is pushing him to a spot that he's not as familiar with. But he busted his tail. Really instinctive always. But I think we wore him down quite a bit, because he did have to play a lot.
What about Al Woods? What did you think of how he?
I thought Al was spectacular at times. I mean, because he's such a monster of a guy, you were aware of him playing. He's an older guy, and we got to take care of him. So we tried to do that. He got a little banged up down the stretch and wasn't able to be quite as effective. But he's an unusual player, and he's a nose tackle. He's the real deal. So we're pleased with what he did. His leadership is phenomenal. He's a great voice on your team, and everybody really listens when he speaks up. So he's got great value to us.
Where's Brian Monet with his recovery?
Yeah, He had a difficult surgery. It's going to, we got to wait and see. There was more stuff going on than we thought, than you could see. And he had some old stuff in there probably that was part of that. So he's going to have a good battle here to get back. And I don't know what the time frame is on it, but it's going to take a while.
We're 30 minutes in, and we haven't mentioned your 2,000-yard receivers. Just DK and Tyler, what they've done for this offense a year.
Hey, what are we doing? Where's the track of the clock around here? No, really, this is our last shot, so it's worth talking about it. To have a 4,000-yard quarterback and 2,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard running back, that's an enormous statement about the whole thing, And give a lot of credit to Shane and his coaches and what Andy Dickerson did up front to make that available to us. But those two guys are just going back to the receivers. They're fantastic players. Look at the game DK had. Man, they had a great football game, and DK's he's just finding it. He's just getting started. We saw him. I know everybody watched him. He's so feisty and competitive and tough and. He's finding his place as the player that he is. As many guys are. You got to figure it out and know who you are as the player. And as he realizes his impact that he can have, and the consistency that he brings, and the toughness and the style, he's just getting going. But then the other end of it, they talked about Tyler. I thought Tyler had one of his best seasons. I just thought he was phenomenal again, and his fourth. I think it's the fourth year that he's at 1,000. That consistency level, and he's banged up too. The shot he took on his injured, broken leg from before really factored in the last few weeks. He was just trying to get back out there. He was really sore. He took a big shot on it, and he struggled through it. He fought through it, competed his way, and made so many crucial plays during the season. And again, same old thing we've talked about, but. He's an incredible player, and I don't know that anybody can do the stuff that he can do it more consistently than him. He's phenomenal at what he does, and so we got to get him back to health and get him back to right and all that. But he still did it. He did it anyway, in the end. A marvelous competitor. Yeah, it was amazing.
What's the outlook for Alton Robinson? Where's he at? What's his situation?
There's some issues with this return. It's taken him a while, and I don't have the specifics on it, but I know it's been a struggle, and so I don't have a good update for you. But he's still in process, and he's a ways from getting back and being back to full speed. Yeah, it's a knee injury that there were some complications in there, I guess, in the return because it's just taken him some time, and. He's worked out hard at it and all that, but he's not full speed running yet.
How do you feel about the receiver depth? Obviously, you just talked about DK and Tyler, but aside from them, I guess kind of.
Yeah, well, I really like Derek. I thought he's got a real challenge or chance to be a factor. He did so many positive things, toughness-wise. The physical part of the blocking, the catching and running. The couple chances he had, but we've seen it and we know what he's got. His work on special teams was excellent. He was an excellent factor, and so we have really high expectations for what he can contribute. And I don't think we have to help him with his belief in himself, how good he can be, because we really see that he's got great potential. Real strong physical kid, and he loves to play that way. And he's really smart. He's a really smart kid, and so we love that guy. Let's just touch on D. Eskridge is coming back. He got back to last week. He's an explosive, dynamic athlete that we've got to bring him into it. We've had struggles with in the process. It's been one of the young guys that come in. Sometimes it takes them 3 years. Remember back to how Golden played with us. It took him a while to get going, but he always had the potential. It's very similar, and so he's ready to go. And he's healthy now and all that. His legs are good and didn't have any problem there. So he needs to have a good, consistent offseason and come back and stay in good health so that he can stay out there so that we can make him a factor because he's got enough to help us there.
If D starts factoring in for you, where does that show up? Is it going to be taking the top off of defenses, the way he goes over the middle? Where do you see that impact coming?
He plays fast. He plays with really good speed. He's a fast kid, plays with good speed. I see him being more of the catch and run guy, and get the ball in his hands and let him do what he can do. He's tough. He's, the defensive background he has, it shows up. He's a physical kid. So we need to get the ball in his hands and see what he can do. He needs to be really consistent. He needs to come back and take advantage of this opportunity because we're still wide open for him. We're not closing any doors for him. But he's got to do his part too, and he's got to find his way to good health, and that sometimes can be a challenge for guys. And he's got to overcome the nicks and the stuff that's held him back. And we need to keep him settled into his position, not try to do too much with him, and just get him back going and see what happens. So. But it's cool because he's fully recovered and ready to go right now. And we got the chance to see him the last couple of weeks here, and he looked really, or last week I guess it was. He looked really good, and so we were all fired up about it.
Which of the positions do you like him at?
We're talking about that. We just want to keep it consistent. We don't want to try to have him do too many things and make it hard on him. We want to make it as easy as we can on him so he can get rolling and really feel confident and play like he's capable. That's a good challenge for us, and for Sanjay to get him back out there. We don't have any problem with how we want to use him. We just got to keep him out there, and so we'll see how that goes.
It's been reported that Sean's going to interview with the Browns about their defensive coordinator position. I guess what has he provided to the coaching staff this year?
Yeah, he's already out there. Yeah, he brings a wealth of experience in the system and in the scheme. The connection that he has with Clint was really valuable as they were putting stuff together. He factors into a lot of different things. He has a lot of input in different areas in the defense, so he's a valuable guy to us. Helps coaches different guys, coach the linebackers some, and he helps in the nickels and the safeties. And so we have kind of a unique role for him, and hope we can get him to come back. Wish the best for him, but hope for him to come back.
Assuming that if he doesn't take this job, do you anticipate any coaching staff changes?
We're staying with our guys. Yeah, we're solid.
Where do you want to see Tariq Woolen grow from first year to next year?
Oh man, there's so many places, so many areas. He has to see things more clearly, see the game better, and playing coverage outside when he's one-on-one with guys, he's on his way there. It's the rest of the game that he has to gain more experience at. He's just as raw as you can get. And so what that means is, like he got caught on the deep ball in a couple times in the game last week, were situations when he's seeing the running game and not seeing it properly, and that run pass stuff. And that's just experience and discipline and reps, and like he'll see so much more than what he was seeing right now. It's a freaking blur. He's in a storm blowing at him and trying to sort it all out. It'll be much better for him. He can be a complete player. He can do it all. He'll be able to be a run factor when he needs to be. He needs to learn all of the different the nuances that happen with all the different alignments and the positions that they get put in, and be able to be as solid as he is when he's outside lined up on guys. He's really best when he's lined up on a guy and covering him, and that he's really clear about how that works. And that's when his eyes are really tight to what he's looking at, and it's the other stuff, the experience stuff that he's going to grow at. But he had tremendous experiences this year to learn, and he's really curious and anxious and wants to be great. He was really broken up about the game. He didn't like his game at all last week or this last one, and so his heart's really in the right place to get good. So I think the sky's the limit for him for sure.
Going to Indianapolis, what's going to be different for you and John and the scouts and the coaches, because of all the top picks you have, and you have a top 5 pick, and a lot of teams are going to be coming to you guys because of how high you're picking. What changes about the next 2 months that have been different?
Well, it's different. Yeah, you're right. It's different because there will be a different attention paid to us from other teams that might be interested in moving around or whatever. It's just a different. We're always looking at the top 15 or 20 guys and trying to figure out how they're going to go and to figure out what's going to fall to you. And it's a different sense in that regard. We're a little more clear what's going to happen. We'll be more clearly connected to what the opportunities are. But this is, like I said, for John, this is a kind of a dream opportunity here. And he's pumped about it. And we've had enough experience together and with our guys and our system that we're wide open to what the options could be, and whether it's, the players at the top or whether it's opportunities to move or whatever it is. We've done all of it to some extent, and we've never chosen this high, but we were pretty close way back when in the first year, and So we're ready for this, you know, and he's so steeped into it right now that when the time comes, so we'll be listening, you know, we'll be listening and looking and watching, and we'll never turn down the competitive opportunity, as you know, and so we'll be in on everything. So I'm excited to watch John do his thing, really am.
How did Gino's season change your draft approach and what you thought you might need compared to what now you need?
Well, yeah, if we didn't have a quarterback that functioned really well, we might be a little bit different. But the quarterbacks in this draft are extraordinary players, you know, and you know, you don't get opportunities like this. And so, you know, we are really tuned into all of those options.
You mentioned kind of applied a quandary for the mental part of coming back from the injury, being able to trust your leg, go for it, things like that.
Excuse me on saying that. I never even asked him about that, really, how he was doing on that. I just kind of watched him do it. So I'm not sure if he'd agree with all that, but that's the way I took it anyway. Yeah.
Independent of that, because of how serious Jamal's knee injury is, do you feel like it'll take a while, even if he's back on the field, just to get back to him?
I think we better respect that. Yeah, we need to respect that with anybody that comes back from a major surgery like this. These are because everybody deals with it differently, but they all have the same factor. They got to get their confidence back. You know, they've got to recover and recapture that you know, the relentless, cut it loose, I ain't worried about nothing type of mentality. Particularly with a guy like Jamal who plays so, you know, ferociously and all that. I don't doubt that he'll get there. I just don't know when that's going to happen.
Jason Myers was a free agent for you too. The year he had, just how important and how big a deal.
Yeah, he had another great season. You know, it's unfortunate he dunked one, you know, but it might distract you from it. But he came right back and kicked it. And look at that kick at the end of the half. What a great play that was for a kicker, you know. He had a terrific year. So we're really hoping we can, you know, he wants to be here. We want him to be here, so we got to figure it out somehow.
With all the improvements you want to make all over the roster, particularly on defense, do you think a significant financial investment in the quarterback position will make it more difficult?
Of course it does. Yeah, just naturally it does. Yeah, and so that's part of it, you know. Yeah, part of the business.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.